Hello and welcome to July Freedom Friday edition. I am Sarita Price, your host. And as always, it is a joy to be with you on these Freedom Fridays. So tonight we got a great guest. You can see her, but I'm going to read her bio. Miss Celeste Jona Gay, who I also know as my bestie. But before I get started, let me give you. I always do this in the beginning, and let's talk about what is really the purpose of the Freedom Friday lives. So we are having conversation with candor, which is frankness, openness. We're really focusing on how soft skill methods and practices um, are the solution to bring in godly change to our nation and to the world, really. um, what we're reaching what I call, and I use this model called the seven mountains, or the influences of social influence. So this is something that was introduced to back in 20, I think it was 18, when I participated in this anthology. Well, we based it on there, and it really has captivated me. And I've been doing my studies on it. So this is the main focus, the main purpose of these Freedom Friday lives. So soft skills, what are soft skills? For you guys who look at these all the time, you may get tired of this, but hey, this is my baby, this is my purpose. Soft skills are those transferable, those desirable or those transferable skills that really do not require knowledge. You don't have to. This is something, in other words, in short, soft skills are your people skills. So some of the examples of soft skills is creativity, innovation, conflict management, emotional intelligence, which is probably one of my favorite, time management. You can see the list: work ethic, teamwork, relationship building, critical thinking, and integrity. So those are just some of the soft skills um, that we actually look into when I talk to my guests. So without further ado, let me read my guest's bio, and I'm going to be turning this way because I'm looking at another screen. So, Celeste Jonay was born in Illinois but raised in West Tennessee. She considers herself a good old country girl. I can relate to that. Having spent some years on her grandparents' farm and knows the meaning of manual labor. She often chuckles at the fact that she is familiar with picking cotton, shucking corn. I remember those two, so those my fingers, and feeding pigs. But is one of her, but those memories are just some of her favorite memories. Upon graduating from high school with honors, I didn't know that. She earned a full academic scholarship at Tennessee State University. She graduated from with honors as cum laude with a BS degree in speech communication and theater, a bit of writing, and a bit of acting. Now that I didn't know. This is my best friend. I didn't know that. Okay. Her career began. I didn't know she graduated cum laude. That's the part I didn't know. Her career began as a proofreader and then was promoted to an editor for the government. She also covered news for local newspaper in Arkansas and was editor in chief for Memphis Magazine, in which she highlighted up and coming men and women in various professional fields. Celeste also has a master's in business administration with an emphasis in marketing. With a smorgasbord of professional experience, Celeste believes she was born to tell her story on paper and out loud. As a result, she has self-published two children's books, one book of poetry, and shared in collaboration of an anthology. In addition to writing books, she has a website which hosts her blogs and a YouTube channel with the goal of encouraging others on their journey. And I'll make sure we'll share that at the end of the live. Most recently, Celeste left her well-paying with great benefits job, as well as a well-known company, to pursue her dream of acting. She recalls her first role that got her hooked, portraying Julia. I hope I'm pronounced this right. Maybe okay. In Star Trek. Skit. She knew this was it. No matter where she lived, she found her way to the local theater to audition and perform. Her repertoire includes musical theater, which is Pearly, Victorious, and more, drama and comedy. For Celeste, life happens when the lights go up and the cameras roll. It feels like home. And thus, she left her position to step into her purpose. Fearful, but with courage, she moved to Atlanta, Georgia in October 2021 and has been in 4 commercials, 1 independent film, and highlighted as a featured background in a well-known films. Writer, actor, creative, podcaster. This is what she does. Child of the Most High God. That is who she is. She gives all credit to the Most High God for this journey. She knows he has taken her around the block to get to her next door, but it is all working out for good. And today, no matter what it looks like, she is excited about what he is going to do next. So with that said, I want to introduce you to you, and let me go back here to Miss Celeste Jona. She didn't put Jona Gay. Hey, Celeste.
Hey.
It was a year, and I wanted to bring you back because it was the year in June of this year that we did our first Freedom Friday, where that's the reason I call this "It's Never Too Late." It's never too late to follow your dreams, part 2. Because since that first, and I didn't really have time. I started to get that clip, do some editing. Since that first Freedom Friday in June 2021, you guys heard me read her bio. Her career has taken off. And I can't remember, Celeste, during that time, had you really decided to move to Atlanta?
In June, no, I had not. I was,
okay.
I had not. It was in the back of my mind, but it was like way back in my mind.
Okay. So kind of talk to us about your journey, and then remember we kind of talk about when I think about you, and let me put this back up here. Let me go to the next slide. I forgot to do this.
Okay.
So okay, okay, I put this in the wrong spot here. Let me go back. Here we go.
Okay.
So these are the 7 spheres of influence we're talking about. And of course, this particular one, we're talking about the mountain of arts and entertainment. This is actually my first Freedom Friday live where I'm actually talking about this mountain. So this is wonderful.
Okay.
This is wonderful. So, as we talk about this, and we talk about soft skills, how do you see soft skills in your area in arts and entertainment?
It's so interesting because even as you were reading the list, I thought about it, because people don't realize who you are and the soft skills wherever you are transfer wherever you go. And being a person, even though I was in corporate America, that has transferred over to my life as an actress, because you do have to have emotional intelligence. because you're dealing with people. You're not, even though you may love what you do, you're still dealing with people. You have to have emotional intelligence. You have to have good work ethic. You cannot show up to set late. Don't show up and not know your line. I mean, you have to have a level
Yeah.
of work ethic and the communication and so forth. You have to have those skills. And I think some people take for granted that just because you're a creative, that those things don't count, but they do, and you rely on them heavily as well, even in the creative arts.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. So let's begin at your journey here. Since the last time we did, I mean, this is, this is probably, I have I enjoy all of my Freedom Fridays, but for some reason this one is just like I was so excited to do this. Because I really, it's just like the topic says, it's never too late to follow your dream.
Right.
So let's go back to, the last one. You hadn't decided to move yet. So take us on what happened since June of 2021.
What's really interesting? The way I describe it is I felt like I was being pricked. And I'll be honest, with COVID and the pandemic being at home, and I just felt a shift in my spirit. That's the best way I can describe it. And I knew that God was pricking me. And I'm going to go back a little bit further, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So, I've read articles and I've heard this before. People are always trying to find their purpose and so forth. If you go back and think about, what did you do as a child? What made you happy? When you were uninhibited, when nothing mattered, you didn't care who was around. And for me, I would go in the back room, put on the records. Yes, those albums, the black ones that you put in a needle on it. Yes. I put on Atlantic Star and I would sing and dance. And that was, I guess, my freedom. And I just felt alive when I would do that. So somewhere coming back to 2021, that prick was going on. And I realized, like many people did, I'm later in age. I'm not old. I'm matured.
No, seasoned. I don't say old. No.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But I thought about it, I'm thinking, okay, I'm in my 50s and I've got a great job, but something was not right. My spirit was so unsettled, and it had been for a long time, Sarita. It wasn't new, but I was trying to be a grown up and do what I was supposed to have a job, go to work, get the benefits, etc., and retire. It was not working. I was very unhappy. I didn't, I liked the people I work with, but I wasn't happy. My decision with moving to Atlanta, it just dropped in my spirit. I prayed about it. I kind of tossed it around. I wanted to be sure that this is what the Lord was leading me to do. And one day, probably, maybe July, August, around that time, it really started to weigh on me. And I was like, oh, we don't have a plan. So, but honestly, when I made the decision, a lot of things just began to fall into place. A lot of things. And that was, for me, confirmation that this was the move I was supposed to make. And I did it. I was scared out of my mind. Some days I still am, but I have no regrets at all. None.
Okay. Awesome. As we talk about this, I know in the field of art and entertainment, and at the beginning, I talk about how do you see what you do in this field impact the kingdom?
It's interesting you ask that question. I wonder that because one of the things I felt that the Holy Spirit was leading me in was he was bringing me to Atlanta for acting, but that wasn't the finality of it. It was the, I call it the journey for whatever he has for me. But what I'm finding is I'm meeting people, interacting with people, and I'm having the opportunity to share, to be positive. And excuse me. And because of that, I feel like the Lord is showing me at this level so I can be able to function at a higher level. But I'm able to share the kingdom, share my experiences. I tell people I left my job dropped everything, came here with, without employment, renting a room from a young lady. And God has covered me the entire way, the entire way.
Mhm.
Um, so he's giving me a testimony to give to other people. But also the interesting thing, Sarita, is even as I share my journey, people are sharing theirs. So not only has God helped me to share with people the kingdom and how God will provide when you're on the right path, but he's
Mhm.
also letting me know you're not out here by yourself.
Mhm.
So we're in
Okay.
a place. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, yeah, because I know, when you decided to make that big move, I mean, that was a big step. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
can relate. As I've said before, right before the pandemic, I stopped working at a job that was paying me rather nicely,
Mm-hmm.
but it was stressful. It was affecting my health. And I just said, I prayed about it. And it's just so I can really relate. It's like God's like, I got you. Just as clear
Mm-hmm.
as that, I got you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not saying that certain days it hadn't been, you know, tight, but I haven't missed a meal, haven't, as you can tell, haven't missed a meal. I haven't missed anything.
I
Um,
understand that. Yeah.
it's gotten better. I mean, it's just God has really been blessing. So, and this is another question I want to ask. So I'm going to go to this because this is when she sent me this, it's just like blew me away.
Okay.
So let's talk about this. So when she
Okay.
sent this to me, guys, this is her bio. This is like you guys are familiar with this particular network and this app. And I was like, oh my God, my friend's a star. She's So tell me about, talk to us about, when you got there and all the calls you start getting and the calls you're still receiving and
Mhm.
just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Um, wow. My first week here, as a matter of fact, the blessing was even before I left Memphis, I had an audition set up.
Mm-hmm.
And what you see on there is the movie that I auditioned for when I
Uh-huh.
got here. It's called Never
Mm-hmm.
Alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's still in the editing process, so it hasn't hit theaters or the mainstream just yet. But I went to the audition. It was my first one. And I was like, oh my gosh, for film in person. And I was so nervous, but I'll be honest, the gentleman, I call him Mr. Rogers, he was great. And I
Mm-hmm.
left there, and I'll be honest, I thought, if I get this part, it'll be amazing because the character is so opposite of who I am. So I had to dig deep when the scene came, but I
Uh-huh.
was so excited about that. And along the way, that was my very first film when I got here, my recording that I was I guess a real, real film. I hate to call it that, but something at that level that allowed me to be on DB.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily add it. The director adds it. So it's not like you can put all your stuff on there. You have to have
Oh,
that credit and they put it on there. And there's another one on there that's been updated recently. I'm working with a crew on another film. I have credit for that. If you look that up, it'll tell you I'm a crew member as well.
okay.
So the director or whomever adds this to your profile.
Mm-hmm.
But even in between time, I've had exciting roles. I'm getting audition opportunities on a regular basis.
Okay.
Um, Sometimes it rains and it pours, but I'm getting them on a regular basis, which is really good. I have done commercial here. I went to Nashville to do a commercial. Did one in Memphis, and there was one other one. So I'm getting commercials. I am auditioning, getting callbacks, and that's always a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
And just excited about the opportunities because what happens, I have representation in, 2 different states. And when my representation submits me and they say they want me, it's like, wow. So that is always good. So I'm auditioning regularly, which is
Wow.
awesome. Yeah.
I know, because I know when we do talk, you was like, yeah, girl, look, I got 5 auditions. I got to, I was like, will you look at this? So, I mean, so just from, how does it feel, Celeste? How, just in your, like I said, this is conversation with friends.
Okay.
How does it really feel? I mean, this is, I just, oh my God, I'm gonna probably start the Celeste Jona fan club.
You're so funny.
So how does this really feel? I mean, to be, and I always say, the little country girl from Whiteville, Tennessee, you the little country girl from Jackson,
Yep.
Tennessee. And then, especially in this time in your life,
Yes.
how this is, have you gotten over the shock yet? Or you're still constantly like, oh my God, I'm doing this.
You know what? I still have those days.
Uh-huh.
I feel more alive than I've ever felt. More alive. And I have some really bad, rough days.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm like, oh God, what was I thinking? But I always go back to I am happier than I have ever been. And when people talk about it can't be about the money, they are so right. The money is great. It is. Don't get me wrong, when you've got that great job and so forth. But I am happy because I'm doing what I love.
Mm-hmm.
And but at the same time, it's surreal. And I'll tell you, I was a featured background for a movie that's coming out. What year is this? 2023. Okay, so it'll come out in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I can just talk about it.
Sure.
Look, I hope they don't cut me out after I tell this. But everybody knows they're making The Color Purple into a musical in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Fantasia's in it and so forth. They made an announcement that she and so forth. And I had a chance to be in one of the scenes. I met the young lady who's playing young Celie. And I'm telling you, when I was there, I had that moment. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my life. And I love it. I love it. There are long days on set. You may be on set 12, 14 hours.
Mm-hmm.
8 hours is a short day. And I'm thinking, I love it. I love it. I love it. This is me. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm like one of the minions just singing my little song. I
Uh-huh.
do. I have days where I wish I had done this earlier, but then I
Mm-hmm.
have to go back. God's timing is perfect. And I have learned to thank God. I'm glad that you didn't give me what I wanted back then, because why? I didn't have the emotional intelligence.
Exactly.
But now you can't tell me nothing. I mean, just like, and I don't think I must, and I'll say this one last thing. And even though, I am just starting out and I've
Mm-hmm.
had great opportunities, I've worked with some wonderful people, I may not be that huge, like big superstar like Regina King or Taraji P. Henson, those people. But honestly, Sarita,
Not yet.
not yet. It's coming.
Uh-huh.
Not yet, but I feel like I am. I believe that I am. I walk and act like I am. So I own it. I'm not arrogant or prideful or anything like that. And I always go with the spirit of humility.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure that I'm teachable. And that's another thing. You got to be teachable. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I listen, I pay attention. But I know that day is coming, but I believe this is my journey. This is my path for a purpose.
Okay. Um, I got a couple more questions. We still got about 6 or 7 minutes anyway.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So I asked this question. What do you feel like you are adding to the area of art and entertainment, you personally, that um would make you distinctive from any other actress? What do you feel like you're adding?
I believe, well, I'll do two things. The first
Okay.
one is I'm older,
Mm-hmm.
and I bring that to the table
Mm-hmm.
because I think it says that other people, like you said, it's never too late.
Mm-hmm.
So I am older. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and I know a lot of actors do say this. I believe I am versatile, and I have a love of humility. And and I'm talking about the character part. And lastly is my God-given right to be here and to be able to share that with other people on a more person-to-person basis. I'm not saying others don't, but I feel a
Mhm.
deeper connection with that part of the journey.
Okay. 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 Um, I think about this question. Well, think about. I think I've heard Bishop T.D. Jakes. People's like, well, um, you are a bishop, you are a preacher, and you making all these movies and dipping in all these different things. It's
Mhm.
like, kind of like, um, why are you doing that? You especially like, man of God, because if you've seen some of the movies, especially
Mhm.
lately, what is the seven
The
deadly?
7 deadly sins with the
Yeah, and I know he
adult.
hadn't released all of those. And
Mhm.
you have some Christian church folk. Some of
Mhm.
the scenes are just like, but there's bedroom scenes and different things. Nothing really, really graphic.
Mhm. Okay.
But you have to be real when you are, people. Okay, let me put it like this: you have to have it where people can really relate to what's going on.
Yes. Thank you
Because
for saying that.
the other night I was listening to a live from Prophet John McKinney, and
Mhm.
he was
Mhm.
talking about it was really hilarious that he made this statement about church folk and how you want the kingdom and you know I'm gonna run around the building and God gonna give me this or whatever, and the world you can't be in the world. He was like, if you're not near folk in the world that are non-believers
Mhm.
in that arena
Mhm.
doing some things, and it was hilarious because he said y'all got all these, you know, heavenly bakery and
I'm sorry. It's fine.
Jesus thou holy car wash. And all the you need to go back and look at the live. It was hilarious.
Yes.
And you just he's like, ain't no sinless folks in the world gonna buy no
Thank
stuff.
you.
He said you have to put things that people want to do business with you. And
Right.
and when you think about it, you can't bring the world in. You so holy until
Yep.
you are no earthly good.
Right.
Um and it was just, and I always say this, especially church folk,
Mhm.
I have to be honest. The white community, when it comes to you talking about church,
Mhm.
they've been doing this for years, having like job, things dealing with the economic empowerment, different things like
Mhm.
that. I just blessed that I was at a church that we had an economic, and they show you how to get jobs and your skills, and just having a theater,
Mhm.
ministry,
Mhm.
or having these things, well, that's not of God. No, that's why you broke.
Right.
And one of the things that I posted in the comment, I said, a lot of times we think that being broken and is a prerequisite for holiness.
It's
There's
not.
nothing holy by being broke,
No, there's not.
because you have to, how you going to further the kingdom? You have to be honest. It takes money. Money
It
is not
does.
evil. In
It
the
does.
hands of a evil person is toxic. But what kind of talk about that? I know in this role that you had on there, you say it's kind of out the norm that you
Yeah.
normally play. Would there be some roles that you would not play? I'm just curious.
One thing I said is completely off the table.
Mhm.
I do not want to be on screen in lingerie. I
Okay.
I know,
Okay.
and you know what? It's psychological. I say that today because I don't want to see my uncles, my daddy, my brother. I
Ah,
don't want them to see it.
mhm.
That is the only reason, and that's only psychological.
Okay.
Um,
As far as any other roles, I mean, because like the villain or playing different roles or whatever.
I would love to play the villain. I know that's hilarious, but I would love to play the villain. There
Okay.
are not any other roles that I would not play. There are some things that I don't know, excuse me, that I don't know if I would necessarily do,
Hmm.
but and I know, and I'll just be honest, like if someone had me play a lesbian role, I don't have a problem playing a lesbian role. I know I'm not a lesbian,
Mm-hmm.
But there may be, and whether it's a heterosexual role or a lesbian role or role period, I think there are certain things, and it's really more of a self thing that I
Mm-hmm.
would not want to do, or someone else, the idea of someone else seeing me on scene. But
Mm-hmm.
right now, absolutely no, hands down. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I could do nude. I
Okay.
am sexy though, even,
Yeah,
I do
girl.
have it going on, don't get it wrong. But that's the only thing, and only because it makes me nervous. That's a
Mhm.
self-conscious thing.
Yeah,
But I
and
am open.
yeah, and the thing is, and thank you for saying that because you kind of covered the gamut what I was kind of like, thinking about.
Okay.
Um, but it goes back to what I stated, and I often think about this when I heard Bishop Jakes say this. If you don't get in there
Mhm.
and give what's reality, what's going on,
Mhm.
it's not about the ones we're trying to reach. It's about trying to reach the ones that some of them never been in church.
Right.
Some of them are in art and entertainment. I just
Yeah.
recall him saying, "You got a lot of stars and a lot of celebrities that look up to, a
Mhm.
lot of, some of these well-known ministers and pastors
Mhm.
like Bishop Jakes. He's not the
Mhm.
only one, because they're real.
Mhm.
So your role and your character, these characters you play, and even as a woman of God,
Mhm.
you're showing people that you never know who you might help save through a role that you have in a movie,
Absolutely.
you
You
know.
just Yeah, and you can't miss those opportunities. And I just want to go back real quick because one of the things I think about and is how Jesus was when he walked the earth.
Hmm.
Who he dealt with: thieves, tax collectors, adulterers. He didn't shoo them away. He invited them in. And as a woman of God, I believe though I don't care how people take it. Those are my people because I don't know about anybody else. But I got fornication on the list. Let me look around. I got some adultery on the list. Not me cheating, but I cheated with somebody else. But I didn't know they were married. That's my excuse.
Hmm.
Um, I haven't stolen, but I've done things. I've lied. I've been a gluttonous. Those things. So we're so busy pointing the finger at what we consider obvious sins at folks, but we forget all this. I've been drunk.
Hmm.
So who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And that's why I love the kingdom of God according to the way God set it up.
Exactly.
And you got to love people where they are, because I want people to love me where, because I'm toe up from the flow up, getting better every day. That's what it is.
Exactly. And you know what the thing is, you are right. And this brings me to one of my last questions. I'm trying to
Okay.
wrap this up. The questions keep coming, but
Okay.
because this is good.
Okay.
Um, you being at the stage you are in your life, and I'm doing you on set with younger people and younger actresses and actors and what have you. um how do you feel like you can be a part of helping them to see that it's never too late, but also to you bringing wisdom? Because one thing that I've learned and I see now more than ever, we're losing the younger generation
Mhm.
because of churchism
Mhm.
and religion.
Mhm.
We- we're teaching them religion, but we're not teaching them how to have a relationship.
Right.
So how do you see that what you're doing will bring in the younger audience to Christ?
I think it opens a door of, okay, here's this woman. She's a godly woman. She
Hmm.
prays. She knows, she reads the Bible. She speaks scripture, but
Hmm.
she's down to earth.
Hmm.
It's about connecting at that level and showing that if she can have a relationship with God the way she can cut up sometimes, then I can have a relationship. Look, we know.
Yeah, we
Um,
shut up.
right. Then, and they can say, I can have a relationship with God because one of my favorite quotes is, there are people going straight to hell from the pew. Don't get it twisted.
You better say
Don't get
pulpit.
and the pulpit, right?
Mhm.
because going to church does not save you. It is about a relationship with God. And honestly, going back to the pandemic when we couldn't get into those four walls,
Mhm.
I think a lot of people found out where they were in their relationship with God.
Yes, Lord, because I was one of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
You find out, am I
Mhm.
really as founded as I am? And that was a blessing for me as well. And I did, honestly, I did have a good enough relationship with God.
Mhm.
And I feel like where I am and who I am, because I am who I am no matter where I am, period. Because I don't know how to be anybody else. And like this guy I was talking to I work a part-time job. I was like, I don't have a representative. This
Mhm.
is me. I love the Lord. Okay, I'm gonna steal your quote. I love the Lord, but I do cuss a little. I'm sorry.
Listen, look, I didn't.
A little wine.
I should have grabbed it before. She bought me this book that I have in my office, and I read. It said, "I love Jesus, but I cuss a little."
Every now and then, if I'm slip out, so I'm just like,
I know, and
but
the
you
thing
gotta be
is,
real with him.
you
Yeah.
do. You have to be, just always take me back in my, after I left corporate America the
Uh-huh.
first time, and I started teaching. And I started teaching this non-traditional college, and I never will forget, my supervisor time. She said, "Now, Miss Price, these are not your traditional college students." I said, "I know." And she was like, I guess because she look, because I have this persona, this corporate America, and
Yes, I
I was like,
understand.
"Yeah, don't let that fool you, okay?" Because I do what I need to do to
Right.
relate, because I'm like you. I don't all those things. The same. I don't engaged in a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not talk about college.
Mm.
Because it's by God's grace and mercy that I'm here. Some of the stuff that I did in college, and I talk to my daughter. I tell her, as a
Mhm.
parent, I tell her some of the things and let her know, so she won't feel bad, because you do some stupid stuff. You young and you silly,
Mhm, mhm,
you do some crazy stuff when you're young. My thing is, for her to be better than
mhm,
me, but it's
mhm,
okay. You're gonna mess up, and then guess
mhm.
what? We all gonna do some things, even now at this stage in life, that
Yes.
because the human side comes out.
Right.
But really and truly, you're working for perfecting, as the scriptures say. But
Right.
there's a difference, because somebody tried. There's a difference. You're not perfect. It's
Right.
perfecting is a process
It
of
is.
getting better
Mhm,
as a Christian. But sometimes you may slip up.
mhm.
And even as a parent, as a mentor, or what have you, you have to be authentic. You have to be transparent, so you
Absolutely.
can help other people. So nevertheless, this is good. We can go on for a whole hour, but you know what, let me bring up, she's an actress, but she's also an author. Let me bring up your books.
Yeah.
So she has written three books, and
Mhm.
then anthology. Kind of talk about like Stella's Funk.
Okay.
And this looks like and then you went to children's book. Kind of talk about that process of going from one type.
Girl, blame it on Jesus. Celeste Spunk was my first one. I always wanted to publish my poetry,
Okay.
and I consider that my first real self accomplishment as far as publishing.
Okay.
And it just talks about my life, and it's a journey. And you should be able to relate to some, because like I've got one in there that talks about when I was drinking all the time. I gave my life over to $3 and a dimes. So yeah, so just the journey. God's shopping cart came shortly after that, around 2016.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest, I, I don't know where it came from. It just came to me. I wrote it out and published it. And then on the way to the market is I actually woke up around 2 o'clock in the morning
Mhm.
and started writing that one. So those are my children's books. And the interesting thing about the children's books, I have found more joy in writing the children's books.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have more than anything. So I'm already ready for, because I've got God's shopping cart is one of of 3. It's called
Mhm.
Treasures of Heaven. So I'm going to
Mhm.
move on to the next one so I can get that one published. The last one, The Ashes Have Voices, I published with 4 other Black women,
Mhm.
and where we are very transparent about our lives and without, giving too much away about what they've written. But it talks about, I deal with, my father disowning me, not meeting him until I was met him for the first time when I was 27, and then really didn't talk to him till I was 38. And how that went, and my sexual abuse, um and just other challenges I had, and just feeling like the black sheep of the family and so forth. But my story is in there with the other 4 Black women, and it is, I'm not saying this because I'm one of the authors, but I really do believe this is a good book. But I love writing. I do. Someday I'm gonna have my own screenplay. That's my next venture.
It shall
um
come to pass.
So, but yeah, those are my 4 books. I don't plan on stop writing. I'm not done. I've got a couple more on my plate right now that I want to finish.
Okay. Okay. I can't remember what's next here. Let me go back.
Okay.
Um, as a matter of fact, yeah, that last book you talk about, I was had the honor of being
Writing the forward.
yes, writing the fourth.
Yes.
Thank you. I just went blank.
That's okay. I'm just
Because your stories were powerful, and we've talked about them. I can definitely relate to your story, and I know other women can too.
Mhm.
Um, Stella Funk, I love a lot of the poetry. Because we never really talked about it, but
Right.
still had the book, have the
Mhm.
book, and so I don't know. Can you share with us what is your what do you want to do next, as far as what is the ultimate role that you want as far as being an actress?
The ultimate role. You
Ultimate
know,
role.
you know what I want to do? Okay, I have 2 that I want.
Okay.
And if you're listening out there, please call me, email me. I'll be there. I don't care if I got to go to Los Angeles walking today. But there are 2 roles that I really want. The first one is, I really want to be in a Marvel. I want to be a superhero or a villain. I'll take either one.
Really?
Yes. 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 I need to learn how to do stunts and stuff because I really want to do my own stunts, even at this age. But so that's my first one. And I'll take, like I said, superhero or villain. I don't care.
Mhm.
Um, the second one is, what I want. I want to be on a Star Trek film, a series, or something. Can I be the long lost sister of Uhura? Can I do that? I think Uhura and I are distant cousins. That's what I want. Those are my 2 roles I really would like.
Is what's the topic? It's never too late to follow your dreams. So
Never
who
too late.
knows?
Yep.
Who knows?
Pop.
Okay, so so how can people get in contact with you?
You can that's how. Okay. So I have a link tree, but you can go to the link tree, or you can
Mhm.
go to my website. My website is really easy. It's just like my IG and my Facebook. It's Celeste Jona Speaks.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So well, we're getting ready to wrap this up. Celeste, thank you so much
Thank
for being my
you.
guest. I know great things are coming. I'm so excited
I
um,
appreciate that.
to get that. I can't wait to the time where you send me an invitation. We're going to Academy Awards. We're going, so
Yes.
that the thing is, see, guys, this is my ride or die. This is how we think.
We do. You
And
have to.
so this is how we think. Now, people dream. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with dreaming, but you
Mhm.
have to put some action to
We
it.
do.
Celeste left her job. She was prepared. She started planning this even before she even knew what, God would have you preparing,
Yes.
and it's just like in the same way I was preparing to be in my office every day and get up and come in here and work from home. But there's other things that are coming, but you got to prepare.
Mhm.
You can dream. Preparation, you know you take one step, God got you,
He does.
and especially if it's aligned with his will.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
it's never too late to follow your dreams.
Yes.
It's never too late.
And can I
Okay.
say something before
Sure.
you click
Yeah.
off? Okay. So nobody knows this, but Sarita and I met in 2013, I believe.
Yeah.
And when she left her job, and I don't know if she remembers, I think I may have told her maybe once in her life at
Mhm.
least, but you have always been my inspiration
Oh.
because to have the courage to step out. And when you left that job and said, and said what you were going to do, I said, you know what? That's what I want, God. That's what I want right there. I want to have the courage to step out and follow my dreams. It was years later, but I never forgot that. I remember the day you left, and I was like, wow,
Was this from Nike or the
this is
second?
from Nike.
Oh, okay.
When
Okay.
you left, and you said, this is what I'm going to do. And, I know, like, you've done stuff, consulting and stuff along the way, but when you
Mhm.
walked away and said, "Phew, this is where I am," I was like, yeah, that's going to be me someday. That is going to be me.
Yeah. It was, I first of all, two things I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be a college professor,
Okay.
and I've always wanted, and I didn't really know it. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Well,
Mhm.
the first time the college professor came around first, teaching, and I was like, wow, okay. And then it led to other things, and I, decided to go back to school. And I had other things. I went back to corporate America, but that was a setup. I didn't
Yeah.
stay but a year, but I had to go back to get some things that I needed and some experience.
Mhm.
And that second time when God was like, all right, you out. I was like, okay, you know, and because I it's like, okay, God, you brought me this to go back but the thing is, I didn't understand it at the time, but there was a purpose for me going back to
Mhm.
that particular company.
Mhm.
It was a new industry. I had never been in the medical industry, but I'm seeing now, especially the client that I have now,
Uh-huh.
which is dealing with the medical
See?
organizations.
Uh,
And that just really hit me, Celeste, a couple of weeks ago.
that's alignment. That's when you're in God's alignment. He sets you
Exactly.
up the right way. Yes.
Exactly. So yeah, thank you, Celeste. I just anything that I can do or say to help anybody, that's just who I am. I don't look for anything. I just, sometimes like people like, girl, you give out too much information. You need to be charging for that. And I'm like, certain things, don't worry, God got some more stuff.
Mhm.
Because you have to sow
Yes.
before you can really reap. And sometimes
Right.
it's not with a dollar sign.
Absolutely.
And some of the things I've actually, you can relate to this, Celeste. I've done it in charging thing or some organization that was free and nonprofit that actually led me to some of the
Mhm.
contracts and consulting that I have right now, which are
Right.
paid.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
you have to give, you have to sow and give. Sowing is more than monetary.
it is.
It's time, it's your talents,
Mhm.
So nevertheless, I can go on and on about
Well,
that.
thank you so much for having me on. So when
You
I'm back, yeah, when I'm back next year, I'll be talking from the Academy Awards.
yeah, look,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
might be even actually in a real studio instead of my office. You never know what God can do.
You gotta speak and believe it.
I just speak it and believe it. All right, everyone. Let's keep in touch. As always, I can probably gonna have another webinar coming pretty soon. This is my email address and all things Sarita. You can reach me at Linktree. This is my mailing address also. Thank you for joining me. But you know what? Let me say this, and I added this here as we talk about these 7 mountains or spheres of. So ask yourself this question: which sphere or mountain are you influencing? Think about it. Which one are you influencing? Because a lot of people, time we think you have the capacity, whatever you're in, you in one of these 7. So are you using your gifts and talents and abilities God given to influence these particular sphere or spheres of influence? Okay. All right. Thank you for coming. And I always use this quote, especially when it comes to arts and entertainment and anything. Creativity is the cornerstone of innovation. Thank you guys for coming, and I will see you next month. Next month, August, we have another phenomenal guest, and I can't wait to see you then. Have a good night.